Alright, and on the DC side of things this weekend from Comic-Con, we've got a couple of, a trailer that dropped for a movie coming up, and kind of early footage from another movie from their little blossoming film studio over there. First up, Wonder Woman with Patty Jenkins directing. I'm glad two things that I liked about Batman v Superman are finally getting like a full feature-length treatment dedicated to their awesomeness. First one being Wonder Woman, the second one being a little bit more Ben Affleck Batman, please. Thank you so much. Anyways, before we get to Batman, let's get to Wonder Woman here. This is very much what we've seen in kind of preliminary footage from, like, say, the DC specials, and what was hinted at in Dawn of Justice is that this is actually going to be following the beginnings of Wonder Woman and kind of her involvement in man's world starting in the early 1900s and her involvement in World War I from the looks of things. And even though it's working within Zack Snyder's kind of muted aesthetic when it comes to color palettes and things like that, it's still popping a little bit more. It's still shining through with a little bit more, I want to say, vibrancy and energy. Even though, yeah, her Wonder Woman costume, is it like bright red, white, and blues wrapped up in the American flag? No, not necessarily, but it's still got that tone going for it a little bit. It's just subdued, but she still looks awesome as Wonder Woman. I mean, Gal Gadot is an impressive figure in that outfit. So far, seen some comments about this kind of being like, okay, so it's gonna be like Captain America: The First Avenger, and we're gonna be following like her origins and her involvement in a war from a long time ago, much like a certain super soldier. Yeah, sure, that's fine. I'm cool with it. The action looks pretty awesome so far from the movie. I know they'll probably pop it up here and there with a CGI touch-up or whatever, but so far it looks like actual real awesome fight choreography going on. It looks like awesome sweeping battles on horseback when you're on Themyscira with her, but more so you get a look into a little bit of her dynamic with other characters such as Steve Trevor, played by Chris Pine, and I feel that's an added bonus because Steve Trevor in this movie, yeah, it's very much Chris Pine playing a very kind of Kirkish Steve Trevor in a way, but that works. I feel he's gonna be kind of a little shot of levity that this movie needs. There's a part where he's saying is like, so do you know anything really about your father or anything like that? And she says something to the effect like, well, my father's Zeus. And there's just this long silent beat where he's just like staring up at the night sky being like, okay, that's neat. Like, just that timing works really well here. So far, even just based on what I guess is really just a teaser, it looks like they do have some pretty good chemistry. Hopefully that is further developed and further expanded upon. They end on a pretty kind of fun line at the end where Steve Trevor's secretary is introducing herself to Wonder Woman, and Wonder Woman's like, secretary, what does that mean? She's like, oh, basically I do what he says and go where he goes and get what he needs. And she's like, huh, well, you know, in my world we would call that a slave. And Chris Pine is like visually just like kind of awkward in this conversation. It's like, oh, ladies, this way, please. And the secretary just keeps going. It's like, I like her. I like her a lot. Maybe it's a little over the top with its feminism mantra there, but you know what? At least it was funny. At least it was... There's a semblance of subtlety given the context of that situation, compared to probably some other stuff we've seen before. And that's the cool thing, is like, you know what? Wonder Woman can very much be this character for a lot of people. It can be representing of not just feminism, but also of like pure justice, of pure truth, because that's what Wonder Woman embodies, are these ideas of truth and justice, as much as, say, someone like Superman. Except in this movie universe, Superman's really not been so much about truth and justice. He's been about, I'll help up when I can, but I'm an alien and an outsider and mopey as hell, and oh man, doesn't life suck? Here, maybe there seems to be a little bit more, I guess, hope. Is that it's not just truth and justice and this, you know, message of a very powerful woman, but hope as well. This seems like a just a naturally more optimistic looking movie than Dawn of Justice. So I'm hoping that that carries through in the final product at least, is that, yeah, embrace kind of the bright side of being a superhero in this world, of being a DC legend. Now getting into the other trailer, well, not really trailer, but more like just a couple of banter scenes kind of clipped together for the sake of having some footage to show at Comic-Con. Justice League had a couple of scenes showcased, I guess. It's focusing on the second thing I liked about Dawn of Justice, Batman, Ben Affleck as Batman, as Bruce Wayne, and expanding on it a little bit more, but now throwing in a couple of cool new dynamics into the mix. Honestly, I kind of hope Superman stays dead in this movie. I really hope he does, because anything relating to his mythos or his story in Dawn of Justice was really kind of a drag on the proceedings. So now we've gotten that out of the way. We've established that there is a bigger world out there of heroes. Let's have fun now. And fun is the key word. Hopefulness, optimism, and fun. Let's have fun with these characters. And from what it looks like in some of these just dialogue scenes, really, it looks like Zack Snyder has heard those calls. Hopefully. I still don't have that much faith in him that he won't somehow really make it dark and pretentious just on instinct. But hopefully he's embraced the idea of, like, you know what? Let me have fun with these fictional superheroes. So in these banter scenes, you see Bruce Wayne going to track down Arthur Curry, Aquaman, and kind of calling him out, like, I hear a tale. When it started off, I thought it was Quint telling a tale in Jaws, honestly. He had like this weird accent going on in his voice. It was like, I hear a tale of this man who rides in on the current every couple of years to feed the hungry with an overabundance of fish. And it's during this certain tide, or this certain evening of tides. And that was last night. And then you turn around, Jason Momoa, Khal Drogo there in his Aquaman do, being like, speak. And there's a couple of cool visuals here. Now, not a lot of effects work so far. The most effects-heavy shots I saw in this footage, I think, was when Bruce Wayne's talking to Barry Allen, and he throws a batarang at him, and Barry Allen basically is fast enough that time slows down. He just watches the batarang go past him. He's like, that's a fucking batarang, man. And then a couple of effect shots on Cyborg from the looks of things. And so far, he looks pretty good. You don't get a lot of Cyborg, a little bit towards the end where he's talking to Batman, and he's like, I thought you were just a myth. Batman says something to the effect of, I can't remember the ending line. I should just bring up the video, but, you know, copyright. But Batman says something to the effect of, like, I'm only a myth when it's necessary, or something like that. That's kind of cool. That taps into kind of Batman's urban legend motif. What I liked about these scenes quite a bit is that it really is showing what the dynamic is possibly going to be between this team. We saw a little bit of it with Diana and Bruce in Dawn of Justice. You have like a brief scene here where they're obviously on the recruitment drive and looking at files, and she's like, about Arthur Curry, she's like, did he say no? And he's like, well, yeah, you know, and he's kind of dodging the question. So she's like, he said no, and then he's like, yeah, definitely said no. That's kind of funny. And when he's talking to Barry Allen, and Barry Allen is kind of geeking out about it a little bit, but not to the point. It's like, oh my God, you're Batman or whatever. He's kind of saying to the point, it's like, well, dude, whatever you're planning, whatever you're here to tell me to join, I'm in. And Bruce is kind of taken aback. He's like, you are? And he's like, well, I don't have a lot of friends. And here's the difference between what Ezra Miller is doing with The Flash compared to what Jesse Eisenberg was attempting to do with Lex Luthor. In that you can have this lighter, quirkier character in this gritty, dark universe, sure. Just in this brief scene, Barry Allen feels like a fully fleshed out and realized type of character. Just in his performance. It's not over the top like whatever Eisenberg was doing with his little ticks of like if God's all powerful, then there can be no God. He can't be all good. Like, it's not. He's not going for full Ledger in this, and that's the thing, because Ledger was actually a fully realized Joker, and it worked for that character. It doesn't work for every eccentric villain, DC. I hope you realize that. Here, Barry Allen, yeah, he has kind of this quirky, geeky side to him, but again, this has been coming up in a couple of my movie reviews so far. It's subtle. He's playing it like a real person would, probably, who is the Flash and who is talking to Batman about joining a super team. He isn't going full overblown, but at the same time, he's not like muted and restrained. He is portraying probably what Barry Allen would say to Bruce Wayne in that instance. And it worked for me. There's just a lot of cool, iconic stuff that popped up in here. Aquaman standing in front of a wave as it comes crashing in on him. Wonder Woman with her updated outfit and shield and so forth. Seeing Ben as Batman just drop to the floor, you know, from a high perch or whatever. Just seeing that got me excited. That's impressive enough. My thoughts on that? It's not going to happen. I know he's going to show up. He's in the movie, I know. But keep sad sack mopey Superman dead as much as possible in this movie. Let it be about developing these characters together as a team, as possible friends, as Ben's Batman is going to be the straight man to everyone else in that sense. Like, I like that idea. Even in stuff like the Arthur Curry scene and the Barry Allen stuff. He's definitely kind of playing Abbott to everyone else's Costello, even though everyone's not going for full-blown wacky or funny. He is still the most grim, serious guy in the room, and that makes these dynamics work even more so. So you have that personality to bounce these other personalities off of. When he has to crack a joke or a quip, it works. I'm not gonna lie, the last scene where he and Arthur Curry are having a massive, like, macho stare down, and the thing he says to him is, "Arthur Curry, I hear you can talk to fish." And then he just does a little, like, tilts his head to the side and smirks. I laughed out loud at that. I mean, it's a little bit more self-aware than these movies probably have been, but you know what? If that's what's needed to be more appealing to someone who enjoys his characters like I do, so be it. Sure, I think Aquaman is, personally I think Aquaman's kind of a badass. I know he gets kind of the short end of the stick when it comes to superhero reputations, and yeah, the guy who talks to fish, but I personally enjoy what they do with his character from time to time, either in comics or in like the animated series on Justice League Unlimited, or the first season of Justice League. Yeah, I'm fully aware it's a stupid idea that he can talk to fish, and the fact that characters within the universe can poke fun at that lightheartedly a little bit works for me. Even though I was the biggest poo-pooer on Batman v Superman Dawn of Justice, I'm still very enthusiastic about where this universe can go, and that it's not dying, it's not dead. Suicide Squad could easily flip this around and make it work in a couple of weeks. Like I said, the two things that I really enjoyed about Dawn of Justice, Wonder Woman and Batman, it's good to see they're getting more development, that they're getting more to do with regards to character arcs and interacting with a larger world. That these little glimpses got me jazzed up about this property again, about this universe again. And I'm not gonna lie, I'll go into those movies very much being like, well, last time we did this, we did get very, very, very 2.5 hour to now 3 hour long method in depression. I may have some apprehensions, but I feel my excitement outweighs my apprehension. Bring on Wonder Woman, bring on Batman in the Justice League. Let's keep Superman dead for a little while longer.